I guess the challenge that I have with a digital technology is that, much like what we've seen in the last couple of years, Robert, like the internet can be changed. I mean, there are things that are being omitted from the internet now on a daily basis, which you could go and search 2 months ago and then it's not
Yeah,
there anymore. 2 years ago, the information has been curated to the degree that we're
yeah,
only seeing what they want us to see. And when I say they, like, that
yeah.
whoever's pulling the strings is
The
kind of going,
sensors.
yeah, I'm manipulating content. You look at, like, in your world at the moment with the presidential election. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many things that are skewed towards one bias and another, right? So is
Yes.
there not a possibility that, in terms of digital currency, that something that has been created by man as is programmable can be programmed or manipulated or coerced in a certain direction that could be nefarious? It could be used in another way that could be detrimental to my own life and lifestyle or well-being or health or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I guess one thing to say, this is another framing of Bitcoin, and we're so early in this particular process that it's very theoretical. But there are many Bitcoin maximalists, which are people that think only Bitcoin matters, right? In terms of crypto assets. So a Bitcoin maximalist is someone who would say that all non-Bitcoin crypto assets are shitcoins.
Mhm.
And the essential argument behind that is that none of them are decentralized. Only Bitcoin is truly decentralized, meaning that no one individual or company or organization can control it, right? It's something that is very impartial, almost as impartial as the laws of physics, for instance, right? We all abide by the laws of physics. We don't have political election cycles every 4 years to decide the speed of light and the gravitational constant. And, they just are rules that are encoded into the universe. No one can change them. So we all just play by them, right? It's like not even worth talking about because we don't know how to change them. Um, Bitcoin is similar, right? It has certain rules. It actually imports its integrity from the laws of physics through proof of work energy expenditure. That's kind of a deep dive in and of itself, but basically through the proof of work mechanism, which is something that was invented prior to Bitcoin as an anti-spam technology, we're able to create this unalterable record keeping system and this unalterable set of rules, network governance rules or consensus rules. And there are many among the Bitcoin maximalists who believe that Bitcoin will actually allow us to bring the internet to completion. So, one of the main problems we have with the internet today, which is what you just highlighted, is all of the censorship, right? Things can appear online, they can be taken down, social media accounts, especially in a post pandemic world. We've seen rampant social media censorship, which also induces self censorship, right? People get scared. I
Yes.
don't want my Twitter profile getting taken down, so I'm going to shut up, stuff like this. You also see massive manipulation, right? That nation states or other, nefarious non-governmental organizations, elites, powers that be, whatever you want to call them, they'll just create fake accounts, they'll create fake internet traffic, they'll distort voting, they'll distort opinion polls. And by the way, I would say at the bottom of a lot of this is the central bank. It's the money printing. Because if you can just print money that other people are forced to work for, well, then you're able to steal anything that money can buy, right? Including narrative and influence and propaganda and news and media and all these things. So, the fact that the mainstream media has become so unreliable, like almost to the point of being satire, I think that's deeply rooted in the money printer because you're talking about a central bank or the interest around the central bank can literally manufacture consent, right? They can print money and buy media and tell media organizations and news anchors and journalists what to say. There's the old saying, right? You can't tell people what to think, but you can tell people what to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So you can make certain aspects of the news cycle salient and de-emphasize other aspects to support whatever the agenda may be, right? Again, the agenda, I don't mean to sound like there's this James Bond-esque room full of guys smoking cigars plotting the end of the world. It's not necessarily like that. I think the world is much more complex. There are centers of power all competing with one another, and they're constantly waging psychological operations against one another and against their populations. But the point I was trying to get to is that the printing of money exacerbates all of that, right? It really is probably the most powerful tool for social engineering known to man. And so what's happening right now, and again, we're in the middle of the storm. So, like, take it all with a grain of salt. I'm just one guy that's with opinions. I'm sure there's a million other aspects to this that I know nothing about, but it seems to me like we're living through the shift of a media paradigm, right? That the technological landscape for communications technology has changed so quickly that the institutions that were accustomed to more or less, adequately socially engineering the world through the control of top-down media, broadcast media, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I always joke about this. When I was growing up, my mom, who was born in 1964, and God rest her soul, she passed away this year. She said when she was growing up, they had channels 3, 9, and 12. And if the president was on, you're fucked, basically, because he's like on every channel. Yeah. Okay, well, we don't live in that world anymore, right? The internet's the opposite of that world. We've gone from one to many media distribution model to many, right? There's all these channels. It's a torrent, right? It's an absolute information torrent on the internet, to the point where the challenge now is, how do you get signal from noise? How do you discern what's true or valuable or reliable from what's not? And so I think that technological landscape has shifted so quickly that we're now seeing the antiquated institutions that were accustomed to more traditional control mechanisms struggling and striving to catch up, right? They're trying to now get a hold of social media. And that's why you've seen censorship ramp up. That's why you've seen the pandemic be used as an excuse to create, what do they call the thing in the US, right? The Ministry of Truth or whatever, like very 1984 Orwellian nightmare bullshit. You couldn't even believe it 10 years ago. It's really, really hard to believe. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, click here to find more just like it, and here to find our most recent episode. Also, make sure to like this video to help shine light on the corruption of money, and be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected.